Chapter 11. So if Henrietta is a vampire, why is she at my college campus? I asked Nico. We were sat in the basement lecture theater waiting for my lecturer to figure out how to work the PowerPoint presentation. Nico sat next to me playing with a pen. He moved the pen through his fingers with an elegant grace, making the pen spiral between each of his digits. The accuracy of his movements was chilling, and imagined him practicing his skills with something more deadly, like a knife. Henrietta is married to Caspar's brother, and that makes her queen. She will want to meet you to officially welcome you into the royal fold, Nico explained. So wait, Caspar is really a prince? Isn't the Prince of Darknesses or the Dark Prince a kind of celebrity name? The corner of Nico's mouth twitched in amusement and he struggled not to smile. No, Hazel, Caspar is a genuine member of the royal family. He is not a pseudo-prince. If he was, then I would have not referred to you by your royal title, he said. I have a royal title? I said. Yes, you are. Her Royal Highness Princess Charlotte, he explained. Nico had referred to me as highnesses before, but I had always thought he meant it sarcastically. I never considered marrying the Prince of Darkness would make me a princess. This was crazy. I wasn't even princess material. I spent most of my life in Converses and jeans. I wasn't like Henrietta elegantly swanning about in delicate couture. I was messy and scruffy. I did not pay attention to fashion or spend a small fortune on my hair and nails. I was more of an anti-princess than a princess. Nico must have read my expression because he asked softly, "What is the matter, Hazel?" I gestured at myself. Look at me, Nico. Do I look like a princess? I'm just an ordinary girl. I am no princess and I am no Henrietta, I said. Nico smiled. Good. You will be exactly what the court needs. Oh, great. Now there is a vampire court, I exhaled. This was just what I needed. A nice large audience to watch me fluff up. Resting my head on the desk, I closed my eyes and wished this would all go away. I imagined being wheeled out to a large audience of dignitaries to be introduced. Everyone would be wearing expensive and posh clothes while I would be dressed in my favorite band t-shirt and my lucky pair of jeans with a mended hole in the crotch. Caspar is part of an ancient and powerful family that rules the northern territories here in America. The court is their political stronghold, and you will be expected to go and live in court one day as Caspar's bride and a princess of the royal family, Nico added. This will not end well, I murmured into the desk. Be strong, little Hazel, Nico said. This court needs strong women. They do not need fragile princesses. Fragile princesses like Henrietta break. The lecture theater fell silent when the PowerPoint flashed on. I glanced across at Nico and gave him an appreciative smile. He was trying to make me feel better in very difficult circumstances. Yesterday I was normal girl, and today I was a vampire princess. What can I say? Life is a bitch. The lecture was 3 hours long, and by the first break I needed to go to the restroom. Now having a 6-foot-something guy follow me to the ladies was not cool. After our earlier conversation, I felt Nico and I understood each other a little better, so when I explained I needed the restroom, I made sure to point out the ladies' room was literally next door to the lecture theater. I am literally going to move 3 feet to left of that door. I will not need an escort to walk 10 steps to my right, I said. Nico inhaled deeply, unsure of what to do. I have strict orders, Hazel. I have to protect you. And you will. If anything happens, I will scream at the top of my lungs and you will be close enough to come to my rescue, I said rationally. After a few seconds of contemplation, he cracked. Okay, you can go to the restroom by yourself, seeing that it is just next door, he said. Thank you, Nico, I said, getting to my feet. Hazel, you better not pull anything, Nico warned darkly. I drew a cross over my heart and mouthed, I promise at him, before rushing out the row of seats and out of the lecture theater. Outside in the corridor, there was a massive queue for the ladies' restroom. This was normal at break time, and I knew that if I went a couple of flights upstairs to the top floor, the restroom up there would empty. This was against what Nico and I had agreed, but I figured what he didn't know couldn't hurt him. I rushed up the stairs to the restroom and sorted myself out. After I had finished, I walked outside into the top floor corridor. I loved it up here. On the top floor, I could see out over the town sprawled to the distant forests and mountains. Walking over to a glass window that stretched from ceiling to floor, I took a moment to appreciate the view. Normally, the sky at this time of day would be filled with birds, but right now it was absolutely dead and I knew why. Outside, dark storm clouds were gathering. Odd, I thought to myself. Sunshine had been forecast. The eerie change in the weather made me feel that the storm had been invoked by some supernatural force. Rain began to hit the glass window, and a flash of lightning forked across the gray sky, followed by a loud crash of thunder that flooded the corridor with light. Ice began to fill through my veins, and I instinctively cowered away from the window. Hazel? Caspar's voice suddenly rang in my head. What is wrong? My body felt rigid and awkward. I couldn't think. All reason and logic had left me. Mentally, I could feel Caspar trying to get through to me, but the combination of adrenaline and sheer terror was blocking him out of my mind. I had phobia of storms. A really bad phobia. Shaking, I stumbled down the corridor trying to seek refuge from the terrifying crashes of thunder. I walked into the first empty seminar room along the empty corridor and cowered under one of the desks. Hugging my knees, I rocked back and forth trying to cope with the overwhelming sense of fear. Above me, the thunder and lightning continued to fill the sky with terrifying lights and bangs. Outside the seminar room, I heard people emptying the rooms upstairs and leaving the building. I wanted to shout out to them, but each time I muster a little strength, another clap of thunder sends me back into a nervous wreck. Time passed and the storm continued. Daylight began to fade, merging into twilight. The janitor pops his head through the seminar room door I am hiding in to check the room, and then closes the door and locks the room for the night. He doesn't notice me under the table, paralyzed with fear. Closing my eyes tightly, hot tears roll down my cheeks. No one knew where I was, and now I was locked in. Covering my ears, I tried to block out the sound of thunder, but it did not work. I cried even harder. Then there is an almighty explosion that rips through the air. I let out a loud sob and protectively cover my ears, trembling. Every muscle in my body tensed. Suddenly, I felt strong, warm arms protectively encircle me, pulling me against a hard wall of muscle. Hazel. I recognize Caspar's voice, but I can't move. He curses loudly and picks me up, moving swiftly out the corridor. Opening my eyes, I see we are moving rapidly down the corridor. I notice that every door of the top floor has been ripped off its hinges. Caspar must have been searching for me. Snuggling against his chest, I buried my face into his shoulder. I loosen my arms and wrap them round his neck. He turns sharply and kicks open a door and heads down a flight of stairs to the college basement. Gently, Caspar places me on a gym mat and then quickly wraps an old blanket around me. The sound of the storm is barely audible underground. Caspar wraps his arm round me. I managed to whisper, "Sorry." I was so ashamed of my stupid phobia. Glancing at him, I can see the worry and stress etched across his face. I was going out of my mind with worry. He confessed, raggedly drawing me closer to his side. He was so close, and I couldn't help but rest my head on his shoulder. "Sorry," I whispered again. Chapter 12. In the dark basement, I could barely hear the storm above. Sitting on the gym mat, I leaned against Caspar while he tried to rub some warmth into my arms. He paused briefly to shrug off his black jacket and draped it over my shoulders, and then impatiently continued to run his warm hands impatiently up and down my freezing cold arms. Through shivering teeth, I asked the question, "Aren't vampires supposed to be cold?" Caspar muttered a curse and then replied, "Everything is relative, Hazel. Vampires are colder than humans, but vampires can succumb to the cold, particularly when they are in shock." "Am I in shock?" I asked, disorientated. Caspar swore under his breath. "I will kill Nico for allowing you out of his sight." I quickly jumped to Nico's defense and owned up to what I had done. I explained to Caspar how I had told Nico that I was only going next door to the restroom, and that there was no point in escorting me to the restroom because I would be a few feet away. The whole time I was telling Caspar the story, he remained very quiet. I wondered if he would shout at me or flip out. But when I finished explaining how I had ended up in a locked room, crying under a table, Caspar was surprisingly nice. "I am sorry, Hazel. If I had known that you were scared of thunderstorms, then I would have stayed with you all afternoon," he said. I could not believe Caspar was apologizing to me. How could someone so arrogant and mean have such a sweet, caring side? "It is a very silly phobia," I replied honestly. I felt so embarrassed about the whole incident. Thunderstorms have always sent me into a nervous wreck. If I had checked the forecasts, I would have known, and I would have stayed at home safe in bed listening to loud music. Glancing up, I suddenly realized how close Caspar's face was to mine. His eyes swept carefully over me, reassuring himself that I was unharmed and okay. Urge. My brain was turning to mush again. Hating him was easier when he was being a complete jerk. Changing the topic, I asked, "What did you want to talk to me about?" Caspar had been desperate to talk to me about something after college, and I had a horrible feeling it would be about more vampire nonsense. However, Caspar surprised me when he shifted for a second and reached into his pocket and pulled out a black velvet box that suspiciously resembled a ring box. Caspar gently turned me around in his lap so I was facing away from him, and then slipped his arms around my waist so his hands were in my lap holding the mysterious velvet box. I looked down at the box in anticipation and asked, "What is it?" Caspar rested his head on my shoulder and replied, "It is my wedding gift to you." He then opened the box, revealing a massive bright green emerald surrounded by clusters of fantastic white diamonds on a ring of swirling silver. He pulled the ring out of the box and offered it to me. "This was my mother's ring, and now it is yours," he said. My mother was an Irish princess who was sent to America to marry my father. She was so sad to leave her beloved Ireland that my father had this ring especially made for her, so it reminded her of the lush green landscapes of her homeland. I took the ring from his hand and watched the giant emerald flash brilliant shades of deep green in the dull basement light. This had to be worth a fortune. There was no way I could be responsible for such an expensive and sentimental piece of jewelry. "Oh, Caspar," I sighed. "This is beautiful, but I cannot accept it," I said. Caspar shook his head. "My mother gave me this ring with the strict instructions. She said that when I had found my mate, I had to give her this ring," he said firmly. "I think you have the wrong girl, Caspar," I said, trying to be nice. With a sigh, Caspar took the ring from me and gently took my left hand in his. He then slipped the ring onto my ring finger and then tenderly pressed a light kiss on my temple. "I never make mistakes," he said. Staring down at the massive emerald on my hand, I wriggled my finger and watched the gems sparkle in the light. Quietly, I whispered, "This is insane." Caspar smiled. "Well, I was not going to mention this until later, but that ring has a matching emerald tiara waiting for you back at court." "Whoa, what? There is a tiara too?" I said. "Yes," Caspar said. "I did think about bringing it along, but I thought the tiara might be a bit much to wear on campus." Lifting my hand, I nodded at the ring and said, "This ring is a bit too much. All I have to go with it are vintage t-shirts and washed out hoodies." "When you are Royal Hazel, it is all about the swag," Caspar teased. A smile crept across my face, and for the first time ever, it felt like me and Caspar were having a normal conversation, even if it happened to be about the crown jewels. Admiring my ring, I wondered what Olivia McAdam would say when I flashed it under her stuck-up nose. It was strange to think such a beautiful ring once belonged to a vampire queen. Curiously, I started to think about what Caspar's mother was like. She must have been very beautiful to produce such a good-looking son. "She was," Caspar said, interrupting my train of thought. "My mother was extremely beautiful. She came from the oldest vampire families in Europe. I thought one day we could visit there. My grandparents are still alive even though my mother..." Caspar had stopped dead in his sentence. Whatever he wanted to say, he could not bring himself to say it. "Caspar?" I whispered softly. "Yeah, one day we can go to Ireland. The court has its own private plane, although we could travel by sea if you prefer," he started to ramble. "I went there a couple of times as a child. I have many cousins, aunts and uncles in Europe. My father was from Sweden. He was the first vampire prince to immigrate to America. Back then, it was pretty wild." I could tell Caspar loved talking about his family, but there was something that was ruining the memory for him. Whenever he spoke about his parents, there was an undertone of sadness that was pulling at my heart. "Caspar, why do I feel like you are not telling me something?" I said. Caspar paused and breathed out slowly. "Hazel, my family is pretty fucked up," he said harshly. "I do not want to talk about it." "Well, this is bridge we are going to have to cross soon. Today, me and Nico saw Henrietta," I said. "Henrietta is family. She is my brother's wife, who is the king of our particular court. She has come here to inspect the new princess and probably arrange for your debut in the court." Caspar explained dully. "Do you have any other family?" I asked. "I have a younger brother called Caspar, but we don't talk about him." "Why not?" I asked. "Caspar killed Louis' first wife," he replied. Chapter 13. I watched Caspar sitting on the gym mat in his crumpled designer suit, staring vacantly at the same spot in the room. The light in his brown eyes had disappeared into an absent glossy, and although he was physically here in the room with me, I could tell that mentally he was somewhere else, somewhere awful. News outlets love to latch onto stories that exploit the misery of others. Why we find the misery of others interesting is hard to understand, but the fact remains that when a story of a family murder surfaces, it has a tendency to create a morbid kind of intrigue. Questions are raised like, who killed who? Why did they kill them? And could the killing have been prevented? And perhaps for a few seconds, we feel sorry for the people involved. But then we close the magazine or turn off the TV and continue with our lives. We get to leave the horror behind. I reached out and gently placed my hand on his, offering the only words I could think of. I am so sorry, Caspar. I had no idea, I said. Caspar looked down at my hand on his and smiled sadly. I tried to warn you that my family was fucked up. He then paused and then said in a broken voice, no one saw it coming. No one knew about the sickness in his head. Perhaps if I had known then, she might have lived. Caspar, I said, interrupting him softly, that is one monkey you do not want on your back. You did not know. Maybe, Caspar said. Somewhere outside, a crack of thunder sent a booming echo down into the basement, making me jump. Caspar's fingers immediately tightened around mine, and he quickly apologized. Forgive me, Hazel. I should not offload my family problems onto you, especially when you are in distress. He was trying to make me feel better, yet somehow Caspar was making me feel worse. My own silly phobia paled into insignificance when compared to Caspar's family problems. I did not want him to switch the focus back on me when he was in pain. Stroking the back of my hand, he said softly, I know this sounds crazy even when I was going through that hell. The mere thought of your existence brought me so much joy. You have no idea how long I have been waiting to meet you, Hazel. I must be some disappointment, I replied bitterly. Caspar shook his head and said, you could never be a disappointment to me. You are everything I hoped for, and more. He said it with such sincerity it made my heart turn over. Finding you has been such an eye-opener. I can finally understand a fraction of the pain Louis went through when Celia was murdered, Caspar explained. Was Celia your brother's mate? I asked. Yes, Celia was Louis' bride's and the future queen. It's hard to imagine how anyone would want to hurt someone as gentle as Celia, but Caspar did. He was obsessed with Celia and couldn't stand her being happy with another man that wasn't him, Caspar said. That is awful, I replied. Celia and Louis were destined to be together. They were so happy together. Celia was human like you, and she had the most loving and kind nature. If she was alive today, I am sure you two would have been friends, Caspar said. What happened to your brother? I asked. Louis could not bring himself to pass the death sentence on his own brother, so he ordered that Caspar was to be taken away and locked deep beneath the earth in a concrete cell. Caspar paused and raked his finger through his hair. I'm sorry, Hazel, but can we talk about something different? There are too many bad memories floating around in my head right now. Of course, I'm so sorry you had to go through that, Caspar, I whispered, trying to think of something else to talk about. Then it hit me, Henrietta, I blurted out excitedly. Caspar blinked, then smiled. Ah, Henrietta, Louis' suffering second wife. She is a nice girl, but can be a little silly at times. Henrietta loves royal functions, and I suspect she has begun stalking you in anticipation for the Yuletime ball. Oh crap, someone is going to have to break it to her that I can't dance, I said. Henrietta does not care if you can dance or not. If she wants you for her ball, then she will have you for her ball. There is nothing you or I can do to stop her. Caspar grimaced. Why not? I asked. We can do nothing because Henrietta is queen, Caspar replied soberly. To disobey her would be considered a slight to the king. And trust me, ever since Celia died, my older brother has become a miserable bastard. Believe me when I say you do not want to be on Louis' bad side. That's awful, I said. That is what happens when a vampire loses their mate, Caspar said. The connection we share with our mates is so deep and so strong that most vampires would prefer to follow their mate to the grave rather than carry on living without them. That is crazy. I mean, your brother lost his wife, but he remarried. He found love again, I said. A humorless smile crept across Caspar's face, and he said, Louis does not love Henrietta. He only married her because he wanted to make a statement to the court. Why would you marry someone you didn't love just to make a statement? I asked. Louis's crown was at stake. If the court thought he was unfit to rule, then the crown would have passed to me. So he needed a queen to show everyone that he had moved on from the loss of his mate, and that is why he married Henrietta. Love never fell into the equation. It was purely a political move on Louis's part to ensure he would be crowned king instead of me, Caspar said. Did you want to be king? I asked. Caspar shot me a dark look and said in a serious tone, No, and do not ever ask me that again. Those types of questions can land you in serious trouble. You do not live in a democracy anymore, Hazel. Louis is our king, and that is that. The finality in Caspar's voice scared me and made me nervous about the kind of world I was being dragged into. The way Caspar spoke about his brother and sister-in-law was so cold and distant. It made me wonder if it had always been like that between the two brothers, or whether this was something new. Caspar stood up from the gym mat and straightened his shirt. You need to get some sleep, he said. Once again, Caspar was living up to his Prince of Darkness nickname. He had suddenly become withdrawn and moody again. He left the mat and walked over to the basement door. I think he was checking for sounds of thunder, although I could not be sure. The storm is still passing over, he said, but you can nap on the mat until it passes. I will wake you the moment it drifts over, and then I will escort you back to your dorm room. Okay, I said, lying back against the old gym mat. Caspar watched in surprise as I curled up on the mat and pulled his jacket around me. I think he was expecting an argument from me, but I was too tired to argue, and my head felt strange. Snuggling into his jacket, I closed my eyes and listened to the soft sounds of my breath. I feel myself drifting off to sleep. Hazel, I heard a female voice in the distance. I opened my eye and saw Caspar standing over me. Caspar, what are you doing? I asked. Caspar said nothing and continued to stand over me, so I decided to sit up. As I sit up, one of Caspar's arms suddenly moves and slams something sharp into my chest. Confused, I look down and see a wooden stake poking out between my ribs. Blood is seeping from the wound and I can feel myself getting weaker. Oh God, I am dying. I am sorry, Celia, he says. I am so sorry. Chapter 14. The pain in my chest was unbearable. The wooden stake was wedged into my heart and I could feel the blood vessels inside of me tearing. My hand rested on top of the wooden stake and wondered if I should pull it out. Out the corner of my eye, I saw Caspar edging away from me. He stared numbly at the stake protruding out of chest. His face looked gaunt and he kept muttering over and over, I am sorry, Celia. I don't understand, I croaked. Judging by the expression on Caspar's face, he did not understand what he was doing either. He raised his hands over his head, grabbing fistfuls of hair and sobbing. He muttered words I could not understand and slunk back into the shadows of the room to watch me die. I gripped the wooden stake that was protruding out of my chest and fell back against the bed. Blood oozed from my wound and saturated the white satin sheets beneath me. I tried to keep calm by focusing on my breathing, but every breath I took was agony. My mind began to drift and I found myself focusing on the beautiful high-vaulted ceilings above me. The ceiling was decorated with mural of angels and cherubs playing with each other in the golden clouds of heaven. From their painted paradise, the angels looked down on me, watching as I bled to death. Hazel, a distant voice of a woman echoed. That voice. I kept hearing that same voice. A sudden wrench of pain between my ribs made me gasp in agony. The wooden stake was wriggling around in my chest as my breathing became increasingly shallow and erratic. I tried to keep the stake still with my hands, but my hands would not stop shaking. Unable to bear the pain any longer, I made the difficult choice of pulling the stake out of my chest. Closing my eyes, I braced myself and yanked the stake out of my chest. I inhaled sharply and sat bolt upright, clutching nothing but air. I looked down and saw that I was in my dorm bed, covered in my blue comforter and wearing my favorite Panda pajamas. There was no blood and no stake. It had all been a dream. A really bad dream. I sighed with relief and threw the blankets back. There was a small, handwritten note on the side of my desk from Caspar. Dear Hazel, I hope you slept well. Please forgive me for not waking you. Once the storm had passed, I found it impossible to bring myself to wake you. So I carried you to your dorm room instead. Do not worry, nobody saw us. I have left a carton of juice in your wardrobe and hope to meet up with you for lunch. In my absence, Nico and Duke will attend to you. Please stay with them at all times. They will help keep you safe when I am not there to protect you. Caspar X. For a few seconds, I felt all mushy at the thought of being lovingly carried across the campus by my dark vampire love. But that delusion was shattered the minute I noticed the pile of clothes that I had been wearing yesterday. I glanced down at my panda pajamas and realized that I could not have put these on in my sleep. "Oh my God, Caspar, you are such a pervert!" I snapped out loud and screwed up his note and threw it across the room. Not only did that asshole skewer me with a wooden stake in my dreams, he also took advantage of me while I was sleeping. I immediately took off the emerald ring he had given me last night and shoved it in my sock drawer. There was no way I was going to stay married to a creeper. I officially hated being a vampire. An hour later, I left for college. The storm had passed during the night, making the weather crisp and fresh. Harsh sunlight beat down on my fragile vampire eyes, making them water. The sunglasses gave me no relief, which made me wonder how I was going to cope in the summer. I now understood why vampires prefer to be awake during the night. Chapter 15. Caspar had given me an ultimatum. I had to drop Leo or risk him doing it for me. For Leo's safety, I would concede defeat and fulfill his request. Dragging air into my lungs, I mustered whatever composure I had left and walked out the classroom. The crowded corridor was a welcome relief, even though I raised a few eyebrows. Catching my reflection in a window, I saw what people were staring at. My hair was a mess, my lips were swollen, and my clothes looked disheveled. I cursed Caspar's name under my breath and dived into the ladies' toilet to straighten myself up. I pushed the ladies' door open and nearly died when I saw Henrietta leaning over the sink with a wand of lip gloss. She turned her head and her eyes widened in surprise. Oh crap. Henrietta was the last person in the world I expect to see, and I made it obvious by staring at her like an idiot. Mentally, a little voice in my head was screaming, "Speak, you idiots!" But I had no idea what to say. Henrietta was the queen, and Caspar had warned me last night that I needed to remember this when talking to her. Shit. Should I curtsy? What am I supposed to say? Finally, I spoke. "Oh, hi." Immediately, I mentally kicked myself. "Nice job, Hazel. That was really smooth. You just made your greeting sound like a question. Now Henrietta is going to think that you are a complete moron." Taking a breath, I tried again. "Sorry, you took me by surprise." I pleasantly smile. "My name is Hazel." Henrietta initially appeared a little baffled by my odd manners, but broke the ice with a dazzling smile. "Hazel, I'm so pleased to finally meet you. Caspar has been very naughty keeping me in suspense. I was hoping to meet you yesterday, but we don't need him to formally introduce us. My name is Henrietta, and I'm your sister-in-law." She spoke elegantly, looping her arm round mine, pulling me towards the restroom mirrors. It's amazing how quickly this weather can ruin our hair. The damp makes my hair impossible, she said, smoothing out my hair with her perfectly manicured fingers. I have a feeling she knew that Caspar was the real culprit for my bad hair day, but was too polite to say. Gratefully, I thanked her and tried not to focus on the tiny detail that she was a vampire queen. Caspar is positively cruel, keeping us apart. I have been desperate to meet my new sister and help her through this period of transition from human to vampire. "I am so sorry Caspar claimed you like that." I begged him and Louis not to do it. The practice is so medieval and out of place in this century. "It must have been terrifying being confronted by the Bishop of the Dead and his ghastly congregation," Henrietta said. "It was certainly memorable," I replied, recalling my zombie marriage to Caspar. "Memorable," Henrietta gasped. "It was positively freakish. How Louis could have allowed it is unforgivable. You should have never been married in that poky little graveyard. If it had been up to me, you would have been brought into the fold of the court where Caspar would have courted you in a manner befitting a true princess, and then you would have been married in full view of the court. We have a magnificent chapel in the palace grounds dating back to the 18th century. "Whoa," I said, raising my hands. "Are you telling me that you live in a palace?" Henrietta stared at me perplexed. "Why, yes, of course. Has Caspar not explained any of this to you?" I shook my head. Henrietta scowled in disapproval. "Oh, just wait until I see Caspar. I shall give him such an earache." "I don't understand. I literally do not understand anything," I said, confused. "Of course you don't. Caspar has not explained anything to you. But do not fret. As part of the royal family, it is my duty as your vampire sister to help you. I shall tell you everything that you need to know about being a vampire and being a princess." Henrietta smiled warmly at me. "Well, I do have a lot of questions," I said awkwardly. Good, because this is a great place to ask. Here in the ladies' bathroom, we won't be spied on, Henrietta said. Spied on? I asked. Henrietta nodded. Oh yes, there is a lot of spying. Caspar cannot be with you 24/7, so he has Nico and Duke watch you. Anything you do or say in front of them will be reported back to Caspar, so be careful what you tell them. What? I mummed, suddenly feeling very sick. Louis does the same thing. I have at least 10 guards waiting for me outside of that door, Henrietta explained nonchalantly. Oh God, Caspar was spying on me. Henrietta offered a sympathetic smile and said, Unfortunately, it is all part and parcel of being a royal. Our lives are not our own. We can sit and cry about it, but tears will not change the cards that fate has dealt us. Hate him, I said numbly. Henrietta paused and replied, Caspar does have a reputation for being intense. He takes after his mother, Queen Rhoda. She had the darkness in her too. What is the darkness? I asked. The darkness is a type of vampire gift. You see, all vampires have gifts. For example, some vampires can run extremely fast, while others can heal in an instant. There are gifts that are extremely common amongst vampire, and other gifts that are extremely rare. Most vampires from a royal lineage possess exceptional, powerful, and extraordinary gifts, and the darkness is one of them, Henrietta explained. So, what exactly can Caspar do? I asked. Caspar is basically a conduit for the universal force of total and absolute destruction. He can draw upon forces that can wipe out entire civilizations, destroy entire cities, and sink entire lands to the bottom of the ocean, Henrietta said. Caspar's threatening words regarding Leo filled my head, and I felt incredibly sick. I had no idea of the power Caspar possessed, and it now terrified me. But don't let that frighten you, Henrietta chirped. Caspar's gift is intrinsically linked to his emotions, which means he can only really use them if he is super mad. This brought me absolutely no comfort. I had already achieved super mad Caspar by 10 o'clock this morning. Numbly, I stared at my reflection, realizing the danger I had put Leo in trying to get back at Caspar. Henrietta adjusted her perfect hair in the mirror and checked her cell phone. She made a hissing noise and said, My bodyguards are getting concerned. I need to split, but listen to me. Hazel, if you need someone to talk to, here is my number. Henrietta scribbled her number down on a paper hand towel and passed it to me. Louis reads my messages and listens in on my phone calls. Here is the only place we can speak safely. Make sure you do nothing that could compromise you, Henrietta said. I will, I said. Henrietta flashed a smile and said, It has been wonderful talking to you. I smiled back even though I felt dead inside. Henrietta turned on her designer high heels and slipped out of the bathroom, leaving me alone with the worrying thought that I was married to a psychopath.